guys, it's Night Fear, and today I'm coming on to do an original tag for you guys. I have never made a tag, and this will be my first. Today actually is my birthday. I turned 45 today, and so I thought that I would do this tag. I actually looked up Stephen King tags, and there was actually only one done in English, and it's by Library of Tomes, and I will link her original tag down below so that if you are in a Stephen King kind of mood and want to do her tag, then there you go. So another reason I decided to do this tag, well, one, Stephen King is my favorite author, and two, his birthday is actually in September also, and so I decided that I would do this tag. His birthday is the 21st. He was born in 1947, and I was born in 1974, so it's kind of cool that our, the numbers are just flipped. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this tag is I'm going to kind of count down to my very favorite Stephen King book, even though at the beginning it's not really... Well, the first book I haven't even read yet, so the first few don't count, but I was trying to kind of work with books that I knew what they were about or that I really enjoyed. But I would say definitely the last five are definitely my top Stephen King books. So let's go ahead and go on with this tag. So 10, this is The Stand. So this is The Stand. If you do not know what this is about, this is about, this is the one, like I said, I haven't read, but I know kind of what it's about. It's a plague hits the world and kind of decimates it, and it becomes like an apocalyptic book. And there is good versus evil kind of thing. And the evil man in this one is named Randy Flagg. And it's important for what I looked up and kind of what I've always kind of known, but I look to make sure and I'm right, so I'll let you know later on how those two kind of go together. Okay, so for The Stand, I want you to tell me what your favorite apocalyptic book is. Now this could be like pre-apoc, right before, right during, after, anything. It doesn't matter. It could be zombie, plague, it could be whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Apocalyptic book. So for mine, I chose, hold on one second. My Kindle messed up. Okay, I chose the book Surviving by Jaron McFall. Let's see how this is going to work. Okay. It is a zombie book. It is self-published. It is actually by an author who lives right down the road from me. And actually the town that I live in is actually in this book. I do have a complete review on this book. I will link down below if you're curious and want to know more. Especially if you want to support an indie author. So anyway, this is mine. And I really want to hear yours because I'm probably going to be... looking at a lot of these and finding some new favorites and reading some new books that I didn't know kind of existed. Okay, so number 9 is Salems Lot. Now, Salems Lot is all about vampires and stuff. I don't want to go too far into this one because I don't want to spoil anything. And this is a recent read. I had never read this before, and I read this a few months ago. I didn't enjoy it as much as some of his other ones, but it was still good, and it's one of his older ones. So for this one, I want you to recommend me a vampire book. Now, I know you guys are thinking, oh, she's going to recommend Twilight. No, I'm not. I do love Twilight, but I know a lot of people don't like it, and so I wanted to recommend something different that I'm sure not a lot of people have heard about. So for this one, I am doing... Sunshine by Robin McKinley. Now this is about a girl who kind of stumbles upon vampires, and one in particular that she kind of helps been a while since I've read this one, but it was really good, really dark. Really enjoyed it a lot. Had some interesting world building. This is one of those that at the end I was like, oh, I wish this was a series, but it's not. It's a standalone. So yeah, Sunshine by Robin McKinley. And yes, it's the same Robin McKinley that wrote, is it called Beauty? I think it's called Beauty, but it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling that I really enjoy. All right, so our next one is the Bachman Books. This is a bind up of 4 of the books that Stephen King wrote as Richard Bachman. And this is an older copy, so it actually does have the Rage in it. I have read these, but it's been a long time since I've read them. So I can't really go into, and there's 4 different stories. A lot of people lately have been talking about The Long Walk. I know Rage is about a school shooting. The Long Walk is basically about a long walk, and people end up getting, I believe, killed if they don't walk at such a pace. I don't remember what Road Work is about at all. And The Running Man was actually a movie, and it's, yeah, kind of sci-fi if I remember right. The Running Man, kind of. I think it's about they go into a game or something and they have to survive their life or something. I don't know. Anyway, these were all good. I remember liking them. I really need to reread this. So this one, since he wrote under a pen name or a pseudonym, I want you to let me know what book you like that was written by an author that was using a pen name. For this one, now, this is one of those, it's a 5-star recent read. I want everybody to read this book because this book was amazing. And it actually is a queer book. And that is Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. And this is Seanan McGuire. That's her pen name, their pen name. I believe they like them pronouns, I think. But anyway, Seanan McGuire writes as Myra Grant. And the Myra Grant books are more like, there's some zombie ones, and what else have I seen? I think a plague one, I think. But this one is about mermaids, killer mermaids. It's really cool. There is actually a bisexual character, a gay character. There's a deaf character, actually 2 deaf characters in this one. So this one has a lot of representation. Plus it has mermaids. Killer mermaids. I mean, what else do you need to know? But I really enjoyed this book, and I really want everybody to read it because I thought it was so good, and just was so surprised because nobody talks about it. I didn't realize it was a queer book. I didn't realize that it had deaf representation a little bit. It's like there's different characters that you kind of follow a little bit. We have one main that we kind of follow through, but you do get, a good bit of their deaf sisters. So anyway, yeah. Okay. So our next one is, hold on one second, guys. Okay. The next one is It by Stephen King. Now, I read this book probably 30 years ago. No, more than 30 years ago. Because I was kind of young when I read this book, and because it's a chunker, and I started reading it, and then for some reason I stopped, and then like a few months later I picked it right back up. And that's what I've always loved about Stephen King's books, is that I could put him down and then pick him right back up, because I don't know, his stories just stick with me. And this is about a killer clown, Pennywise, who is actually more than a clown. And him terrorizing Derry. It is Derry, right? Yes, Derry, Maine. And these kids who kind of make it their mission to destroy Pennywise. And it kind of goes back and forth. A lot of people do not like this book because it does go back and forth. It goes back when they were kids and then to today where they're adults. So it does go back and forth. So it's kind of hard to follow at first, but then once you get into it and you understand what he's doing, then it makes it a little easier to follow. There are some disturbing things about this book. But all in all, I really enjoyed it when I read it. I do need to reread it because, like I said, it's been, 30 years since I've read it. But yeah, this is definitely one of the favorites. And the old movie's better. Just saying. So for this one, I want you to tell me your scariest or creepiest read, because I know some people do not get scared by books. So I want you either scariest or creepiest book. And this is good. This will be good because then as we watch, we can get some recommendations for books to read for next month for Halloween. Okay. So for this one, I picked The Bird Eater by Anya Alborn. Now, this was the first Anya Alborn book I read. I've since read a couple more. I really want to read all of her books. She is very creepy, very spooky. And this one is about a little boy whose house is haunted. His aunt dies and he runs away from this house. And then later he goes back, after his aunt dies, he goes back to fix up the house, and he's not sure if he wants to sell it or live in it, and finds out that the ghost is still there. But it's a lot more than that. This ghost is like creepy, like really seriously creepy. And the ending of this book, oh my gosh, it was like, oh. So I highly recommend this book. Highly recommend Anya Alborn. If you like scary books or like creepy books and have never read her, I would highly recommend her. Okay. Our next one is Misery. And this is all about a fan who finds her favorite author and basically kidnaps him. And she's very sadistic. The movie is very good too. I really like this. This is one of the best Stephen King movies adaptations, I think. I mean, he has a few, but this is a good one. And so for this one, I want you to let me know who your favorite author is. Now, obviously, my favorite author is Stephen King. Okay, hands down. I mean, I have 3 shelves right here of his books. I have his movies right here. I don't know, his writing clicks with me. But because that's an obvious answer, I went ahead and found another author, and I don't know if how well you're gonna be able to see these. This is Anne McCaffrey, and you probably can't see that at all. She writes Dragon Riders of Pern. She's written, let me see if I can see some of these. The Crystal Singers, she wrote the Acornia series, which is about a unicorn girl, which I have read and talked about on this channel. She's just written a lot of books. Now, the Dragon Riders of Pern, I've always considered fantasy, but she did not. She has passed away, and she did not consider them fantasy. She considered them sci-fi because of the way the dragons were created. But the books themselves, they're not really, the Dragon Riders of Pern, at least, are not very sci-fi-y. But some of her others are, but they're not real hard sci-fi. So if you are trying to get into sci-fi and are curious, I would definitely recommend Anne McCaffrey. Her writing and style is very easy to get into, and she makes you love her characters. So yeah, I would definitely check her out. Okay, the next one. Okay, these are definitely my top 5s now. Except for I didn't put in the Green Mile because I forgot, and I had already picked 10 books, and I already kind of had an idea of what I wanted. So the Green Mile is up there also. I just didn't do it for this particular tag. But the Green Mile is definitely one I would recommend, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Anyway, the next one is The Dark Half. And this is about an author who kind of kills off his character, and the character doesn't want to die. Really good book. I don't think I've ever seen the movie, or if I have, I don't remember it. But this is one that I have enjoyed for quite a while. But for this one, I want you to tell me a book with a dark theme or character. And for this one, I chose Nosferatu by Joe Hill. Now, yes, Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, but he does write a lot differently than his dad. Similar, kind of, but his is not as descriptive as his dad. So if you do not like Stephen King because he is too descriptive, you might check out Joe Hill. But anyway, Nosferatu is about this very dark guy who kidnaps kids and takes them to Christmas land. And he has this car. It's an old car. It's a Wraith, actually, and it's has this tag on it, Nosferatu. And he is definitely a dark and, you know, sinister kind of character. And our main character too is we have a girl who is, she has her issues too. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. This one is a definitely, and there's a graphic novel called Wraith that I believe happens after this one. But it was really good too if you like graphic novels. Okay. Come on. My Kindle is not wanting to cooperate, guys. Okay, there we go. Okay. So our next book, okay, this one is, I don't have a dust jacket for this, so I'll have to do this. It's Cell. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people do not like this book, but I did. But the movie's just, oh, the movie is awful. Horrible. I hated the movie. But this book I really enjoyed. And what happens is everyone, there's like a pulse that goes through the cell phones. And after this happens, every time you use anybody that uses a cell phone turns into a zombie type character. And so it's kind of like The Stand, where we're gathering people together to fight the evil kind of thing. So it's kind of an evil versus good a little bit. And I just really enjoyed this book. I just did. I don't know. But so this one, I want you to tell me a book where technology causes problems. Because of course in this one, cell phone is the whole reason why, you know, the zombies were created. Now I use zombies loosely because I don't know if he would necessarily describe them as zombies, but that's kind of what they are. So now for this one I had some problems because I knew I wanted to have the Cell because it's, like I said, you know, it's my 4th favorite book. So I'm going to show you one that I've read that's kind of fits, and one that I have on my TBR that I'm going to be reading soon that fits, that I hope I like. So the first one, I would say 1985 by George Orwell kind of fits for this one, because the government uses technology to spy on the people. That's, if you've ever heard the term Big Brother, this is the book it came from. There's a lot of, George Orwell was a very interesting individual. I've read both Animal Farm and 1984, but it's been a while since I've read 1984. And I picked this particular cover because when I read it, I was in school, and this is the cover that I actually read. But yeah, I don't want to go into a lot of detail because this is one of those, it's better that you just kind of experience the book. But it was his kind of imagining of what could happen in the year 1984, how the government would take over and become kind of this separate entity that didn't really protect us. And it's definitely, it's an interesting book. I would recommend it. But don't be too hard on yourself if you kind of get a little bogged down with it. It is kind of, you know, there's a lot of layers to it. So I would definitely recommend reading it more than once, because, you know, it's like Animal Farm in a way. Animal Farm is a really easy read when you first read it, but then when you read it again, you see the different layers. 1984 isn't as easy to read, but there is that same lot of layers. Okay, so anyway, this is the book that I'm going to be reading. It's called 1 Second After by William R. Forstchen. I'm reading this for Apocalyptic-a-thon. Apocalypse-a-thon. Anyway, one of those. And this is about a kind of after a war, an EMP strike hits the United States and pretty much turned off all technology. And so this is what happens after that. So I think this would count towards that. So like I said, if you don't have, I mean, this one's all okay. If you don't have a book, I understand. But I was just curious to see what people would come up with. If you don't have a book that you've already read, maybe one that you'd be interested in reading, or a book that you've heard about that you might be interested in reading that has something to do with technology, would be fine for this one. Okay, 3 is The Mist. Now, The Mist is a short story of Stephen King's. It's one of my favorite short stories of his. I do not think I have the book that this is in, but I do have the movie. So I just pulled the movie out because I couldn't have this list without The Mist. And this is about literally a mist that comes, and there are creatures in this mist, and this father and son who are trying to survive. They get trapped in this grocery store, and there are all kinds of different people, and you know, this is one of those where it's also the people that get scary. It's not just the monsters, it's also the people. So yeah. So for this one, I wanted you to tell me a book where the characters are fighting for their lives, just like they did in The Mist. So this one was pretty easy for me. And this is actually a book that my fiance and I listened to. He kind of did it accidentally. He wasn't setting out to listen to this book, but I was listening to it and he got into it. And that is Dry by Neil Shusterman and Jared Shusterman. This is about California is in a drought. Duh. And I can't remember which state, but they take the water away. And so it's about these teenage kids who are trying to survive, not having water. And it's a very good book. This is one of those, it's not magical at all. It is, you know, it's scary because it could totally happen, and it could, you know, you could totally see this happening, and it's just it's very scary. And like I said, the audiobook was absolutely amazing. So yeah. Okay. All right, 2 more, guys, and then we're going to be done. So my number 2 Stephen King book is dun, 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 Needful Things. I love this book. Now, this is one of those, if you've been with me, you know I usually refer to the characters as he or she, or the character, or blah, 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 because I cannot most of the time remember their names. This one, I remember the store owner. I don't have to look it up. It's Leland Gaunt. That's his name. I know his name. I'll know his name probably until the day I die. I don't know why, but this character really stuck with me. And Leland Gaunt is not a good guy. And he opens a store called Needful Things, and he makes people think that they need things that they don't necessarily need. And when other people see them, they're like trash. They're not, you know, they're not what these people actually see and think that they need. And what he does is he trades favors. Like, he'll take a little bit of money and then a favor, and then the favor, it ends up destroying this town. And it's just, this is an amazing book, but it's not amazing. I mean, it is, but it's not amazing because of the magic in it. It's amazing of what people are willing to do to other people to get what they think they need. And it just, oh, it's such a good book. If you haven't read this one, if I remember right, I think the movie is pretty good. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I don't really remember. But I just, if you really want a good Stephen King book, it's not really, really scary. I mean, it is kind of thick, but it's just, it's so good. And it's so good. But for this one, now I want you to tell me a book that you truly did need. Tell me a book that, you know, you read it and it was like, wow, I needed that. Or, you know, maybe was a book that helped you through a sad time, or a book that you learned something from, or, you know, just however you interpret that. you know, that it was needed in your life. Now, for this one, I have 3. I just couldn't help it because I wanted to share these books and I couldn't decide which one. So, the first one is a book that I've read recently, and it's called This Is How It Always Is by Laura Frankel. And this one has several different covers, but this is the cover that I read. And this is about a family, and I think it's 5 boys. I think it's 5 boys. And their youngest son has discovered that he's not really a boy, he's a girl. And this book is all about how the family copes with that. Now, this book does not shine over the thoughts that the parents have, which is why I really like this book. I know some people are kind of bad-mouthing it because, you know, the parents have thoughts. Well, in real life, parents have thoughts. But they do what they can for their child. And this is, I mean, and even the child has confusing thoughts and doesn't understand. And to me, this was a very powerful book. I was in tears. I just, this is one that I will stick with me for a while. But I would recommend this book to anyone who likes to read queer books, to anyone who is looking for a trans book. This is definitely a good one. Okay, the next 2 actually are World War II books. I, for some strange reason, am a person who loves to read about World War II. The first one is Ruta. Now, see, I thought it was pronounced Cepetis, but I've heard it pronounced several different ways. So I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, but it's Salt to the Sea. She also has one that is Between Shades of Grey, which is also another World War II that was really good. But I liked this one because this one told a story that I had never heard of before. There were people fleeing from different countries as Russia was coming through them. They were fleeing, so they were kind of between Germany and Russia, and they were fleeing, trying to escape Russia because they were, the Russian troops, because they were getting murdered. And there was this waterway that they had to cross, and the Germans were providing boats. And the boat actually was sunk. It's actually, I mean, this is it's a fictional story, but I like her books because she puts an author note in there and tells you the research she did, the real story, you know, of what actually happened. And I had never heard of this. I had no idea. And I mean, there were a lot of people who died. Like a lot of people that I should have heard about this from history, and I've never heard about this. So this is why this one, you know, it'll stick with me because I learned something. And then the other World War II one is Night by Elie Wiesel. I know a lot of people have read this book. A lot of people are required. This has been a required reading here and there. And this is a memoir. This is a true story of him being in a concentration camp. He has passed away, I want to say a couple years ago. It's been fairly recently that he's passed away. But when I was in college, I actually got to go and hear him speak. It was amazing. It was sad. It was touching. It was amazing. But him telling his story, and he went to Auschwitz. So it was very powerful and just very, I don't know. If you haven't read the, and it's short. It's just little. It's a short book. What, it's 100 and something pages, I think. Yeah, it's just over 100 pages, 106 pages. So if you haven't read this book, why haven't you read this book? Everybody should read this book. And if everybody read this book, maybe they would get some idea of what some people are going through right now. And it's sad that this is still happening today, that people are still being treated differently because of the way they look, the way they believe, you know. So anyway, read this book. Okay, now we're to my favorite Stephen King book. Now, any of you that have been on this channel for a while or have talked to me about Stephen King knows the answer. Do you know the answer? Okay, this is a lot of people haven't read this book, haven't heard of this book, but it's Eyes of the Dragon. This is his fantasy book, and this is an old book. This was written in the 80s. And this poor book, it's beat up. I mean, I got it used, but it's okay. I don't mind. But this is the story of it's a fantasy, like I said, but it's a story of a kingdom and an evil magician named Flag. And yes, it is the same Flag from The Stand, which is also the same person who was in the Dark Tower. Which is amazing that Stephen King has done this, like, from the years that he's written, and has carried this world and kind of connected these books by these little bitty ways. And you don't have to read this book to read those. You don't have to read those to read this. But it's just cool for those of us that love to read his books that we see these little things. But so this is about a queen who dies in childbirth, the two sons, the king ends up dying, and the magician frames the older boy, and the older boy gets put into the tower because Flag is like, I can control the younger son. And so basically then that means that he will rule. So, and then it's about all the stuff that happens in between. So, for this one, I want this one you're going to have to kind of think. I want you to tell me a book where a character is lost but finds the way. And this could be that they're physically, literally lost and find their way, that they're lost like in a dungeon and then find their way, or that they're lost like personally lost and it's like a character growth kind of thing. Because actually both of those happen in this book. So it could be either way and both of them fit. So for this one, I picked a book that I've read recently. And this is another one that I want everybody to read. But that is Pantomime by Laura Lamb. This is one cover. The other cover is it black with yellow, I think, on it? Or is it yellow with... Oh, I think it's black with yellow, and it's like a circus performers. This is the other cover, which is probably the cover you've seen. This is just the cover that my library had. So this is about a character that is definitely lost. It is a queer story, and this character is definitely lost, and in more ways than one, and finds the circus and kind of starts finding who they are, or maybe who they want to be. This is definitely a book worth reading. It is very dark though, so be prepared. There is sexual stuff, there is killing, there is, there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's definitely a book that's worth reading. So, so anyway, guys, that is my Stephen King happy birthday tag. So if you want to do this tag, go ahead. I do want to tag some people. I have a list. And some of these people I'm tagging because I enjoy them. I enjoy them, I consider them kind of my friends on BookTube. And some of them I am tagging because I know they love Stephen King as much as I do. So yeah. So I am tagging Clint from Reads Readers. Clint, you do this tag. I'm tagging Kat from Kat Talks. And I will link all these channels down below because some of these are very small channels and some of them are very large. So, but if you haven't checked out these channels, you really should. Clint he reads a lot of witchy books. He reads a lot of mysteries, which I don't read, but it's okay. And he reads a lot of thrillers. Kat Talks. Kat reads all kinds of books. She does all kinds of things. I really like her. She actually shouted me out in one of her videos. Kind of watched her a little bit, but didn't really know her too well, except for that she would react to a lot of my videos. Love her, wonderful human being. Go check out her channel. She's another smaller booktuber. Peter from Peter Likes Books, because I know he likes Stephen King and he likes these kind of tags and he likes scary books. I know he doesn't watch my channel, but it's okay. I watch him. Love him and his husband. So I will be also tagging him on Twitter so that he can see that I've tagged him. So hopefully Peter will do this tag. Then I want Kayla, I think it's Kayla from Books and Lala. She's another one that I love to watch that I know doesn't watch my channel, but it's okay. And I know she's another one that really enjoys Stephen King. I'm going to tag her on Twitter, and hopefully she will do this tag. And I know she's really busy. She films a lot of stuff. If you have not checked out Books and Lala, what the heck are you doing? If you are on BookTube and really enjoy BookTubers, she puts different twists and does a lot of different videos, all kinds of different videos. Hilarious videos. Love her family. Love her. Just go watch Books and Lala. Okay. Then Natasha for My Reading is Odd. She actually reads a lot of Stephen King books. She's going through him in publication order. I love her. She is wonderful. She's funny. You know her if you do the Contemporary-a-thon. She's one of the hosts for that. She hosts a lot of other different readathons, but that's, I think, the biggest one she is a part of. And actually, Contemporary-a-thon is going on at the end of this month, if you didn't know. So I will be doing her on Twitter, too. Like I said, I know she doesn't watch me. Then Dane from Dane Reads. Dane watches me on and off. I've watched him on and off because he does spoilery book reviews. His book reviews are wonderful, but if you haven't read the book, it's not a good idea to watch because he goes through the book and says his thoughts, which is wonderful. And he just did a review of Night. So if you want to hear another person's opinion on Night, then check out his channel. And like I said, I'll link him down below. And then Boston Reads Books and Graham Quigley, they are two newer booktubers that I watch. They are recent people that I've subscribed to. Enjoy both of their channels. Boston Reads Books is very quirky and I love her. She loves to read queer books too, among other things. And I know that she has quite a few Stephen King books also. And Graham Quigley, I don't know if he reads Stephen King books, but I just love to listen to him talk. His accent, I just love it. So I thought this would be a fun tag for him to do because they're not really, my questions are not really based on Stephen King books. Like you have to, your answers have to be Stephen King books. So I thought he would, might get a kick out of some of the questions. So Graham, I know you watch my videos off and on. If you see this one, you're tagged. So anyway, guys, like I said, if I didn't tag you, I'm sorry. I do watch a lot of other channels. I had to limit, and I was trying to think of people that I thought would do the tag or that really love Stephen King. So remember, always be kind to one another, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!